The Diesel and the Salt. Winter had come once again to the island of Sodor, and the weather had the tracks in its icy grip. Lots of salt was needed to thaw the rails, and this meant more salt wagons in the yard. In between branch line duties, Thomas was sent to manage the yard, but couldn't do it alone, so Sir Topham Hatt borrowed a diesel from the other railway. Thomas was working hard moving the salt vans about in the yard, ready for delivery. Snow swirled around his boiler as the biting wind blew. "Brrr," shivered Thomas. "I hope that diesel gets here soon." He heard the honk of an unfamiliar horn, and a gray diesel shunter rolled into the yard. Sir Topham Hatt walked up, dressed in scarves and a large jacket. "Thomas," said Sir Topham Hatt, muffled behind his scarf. "This is Dennis. He will be helping you keep the salt deliveries in order." "Nice to meet you, Dennis," Thomas said cheerily. Dennis looked around, disinterested, and tried to give Thomas a smile. "Nice to meet you too," he said flatly. "Good. Now that you're acquainted, we must go." And with that, the extra puffy controller waddled back to his office. Thomas pumped his pistons, ready to get started. Dennis sat still, looking displeased. "Come on, Dennis, we've got work to do." Dennis stammered. I'm tired from my trip. May I rest in the sheds for a little while first?" Thomas would rather have had Dennis help out now, but he knew he must have come a long way. "If you say so, Dennis." Dennis looked much more pleased now. "Thank you," he replied, and scuttled off to the shed. "Be sure to come back soon," Thomas called, but Dennis didn't reply. Thomas continued to work in the yard that afternoon, waiting for Dennis to come back and help. He waited and waited, but Dennis didn't come. "Where is that Dennis?" he fussed, starting to get annoyed. "I can't do all of the work on my own." At last, the clock struck 3 and there was still no Dennis. The yard was still in a state of confusion and delay. Thomas decided to go to the shed to see what was up. As he approached the shed, he crept slowly up alongside. He could hear Dennis chuckling inside. "Stupid tank engine. He'll be done by the time I'm ready," he chortled. Thomas moved away so that Dennis wouldn't hear him gnashing his teeth. He was furious. "Oh, that Dennis! He tricked me!" Thomas complained. But then, Thomas got a very cheeky idea indeed. He knew exactly how to pay Dennis out. He scurried away to put his plan into action. Soon, Thomas returned to the shed, and this time he puffed up to see Dennis. "Dennis!" Thomas said, pretending to sound urgent. "Sir Topham Hatt needs you to take a train of salt right away." Before Dennis could reply with another excuse, Thomas rushed away. "Well, boy, orders are orders," said Dennis's driver. Dennis groaned and begrudgingly headed for the yard. When he arrived, a huge line of 20 salt vans stood waiting for him. "I have to pull all that?" he exclaimed. "Sorry, Dennis, that's what Sir Topham Hatt ordered." Thomas lied, trying to contain his cheeky grin. "Let's get this over with," Dennis grumbled under his breath. He coupled up in front of the vans and slowly struggled out of the yard. "Have a nice journey," called Thomas as he left. But it wasn't a nice journey for Dennis at all. The vans were heavy and the rails were still icy, making his wheels slip. The vans laughed as Dennis crawled along. He was exhausted by the time he reached the first station. "Right," he panted. "It's too much work to pull these. I'll leave these here and—" "You'll do no such thing!" thundered Sir Topham Hatt. He was standing on the platform. He'd even taken his scarf off to speak to him. "Thomas has told me all about your work in the yard, or lack thereof," scolded the controller, "and I must say I'm very disappointed. I do not tolerate lazy, conniving engines on my railway. You shall be returned to the other railway at once." Dennis uncoupled from the vans and rolled solemnly away. Thomas came along to pick up the train. It was hard work, but it was worth it when he saw Dennis sadly refueling at the next station. "Goodbye, Dennis. Now you know what hard work is, don't you?" he called out cheekily. Dennis hadn't the strength to reply and silently trudged home.